Hey everyone, Howie Fisher with Fisher's Flies. Thanks for checking in. This is the White Death, which is an eerie steelhead pattern. And just in the vise now was the original version of the White Death. And I'm tying this using a Fulling Mill 2225 Stealth Streamer hook in size 8. And for the thread on this, I'm using 140 denier ultra thread in red. And I'm going to get started pretty much right behind the hook eye and take a bunch of wraps to get this thread secure. These non-reflective hooks from Fulling Mill are Teflon coated, so they're pretty slick, so just be aware of that if you're tying on them. You got to make sure you get your thread wraps good before letting go of your thread, or it can just come undone. But I'm going to bring this thread pretty much right back to the bend. You can see I'm just a hair into the bend. And then I'm going to grab my tail, which is Rabbit Zonker Micro from Fulling Mill in white. Jeff Blood, who's the originator of this fly pattern, and others say that you want basically the sparsest tail possible. This fly is designed to imitate shiner, essentially, which are pretty abundant, apparently, in the Erie tribs, Erie streams. So I'm going to separate the hairs on this by kind of just wetting my fingers and then preening them and pulling some of them forward, as you see, and some of them backwards. And then I'm just going to take about 6 or 8 wraps in that mid spot. The original pattern calls for essentially a hot spot right here, so that's why you want to build it up a little bit. Then I'm going to fold this back and bring my thread all the way up to the head. This is where this fly becomes a little bit of a variation. Here I'm using flat braid in cream from SemperFli. It's just kind of like a white, silvery, sparkling thread. The original from Jeff Blood uses silver flat braid, if I'm not mistaken. So this is just a very slight variation. Still got some of that silver in there, flash white. I think this will do just fine though. But to build up a little bit of a body, I'm starting at the head here. I'm going to whip finish and rest my thread on my bobbin holder and then wrap this backwards, as you can see me doing here, and then wrap it forwards. This is also going to prevent me from prevent the red thread from showing through the body, which could be a benefit. But if you don't want to do that, you could just use a white thread for the body and then switch out to red thread for the head. Here I'm just using red thread all the way through, so I'm just going to double wrap this body. Again, do it kind of however you prefer. And the diamond braid, if you're using diamond braid, is a little bit thicker, so it'll build up a bit of a thicker body if you needed to. You could also double it over if you wanted to from the get-go, and again, that would build up a thicker body as well. So once I have that secured, I'm going to grab this rabbit and pull it forward, and make sure you've got it just short of the eye. And I'm going to wrap this down. And if you wanted to, this is the White Death right here. So you could stop right here, whip finish this, and it'd be an insanely effective fly after you just chop the tail off right there. This is essentially the White Death. Just cover up the rest of that rabbit hide and whip finish. But I'm adding easy egg yarn here from Fulling Mill. This is UV version, so it's got some flash in it. This is just something that came to mind as I was tying up these White Deaths for a steelhead trip coming up in November. And it just came to mind, and I think it just makes so much sense to me. Again, these flies are designed to imitate shiners. And steelhead and salmon and even trout, other fish love egg-sucking leeches, egg-sucking bait fish, other stuff like that. So again, this variation just made so much sense to me. So I am tying some up. I think this is going to just do absolutely killer up there. I think it's going to do really, really well in November when I'm there steelhead fishing. So I'm really looking forward to fishing this variation. I've never done it before, but again, I don't see why this doesn't work. So I'm going to take 2 to 3 wraps of this easy egg yarn. You could also use Ecstasy or whatever egg yarn you want, and then secure it. Wrap 2 wraps over top of, and then 2 wraps in front of. And then I'm going to snip it off here. Once I've done that, I'm going to preen all these fibers backwards and kind of clean this head up and build a little bit of a hot spot again with this red thread here. Probably not totally necessary, but again, I think it'll just kind of add to the effects of it. Then I'm going to whip finish this, do some whip finishes, 3 or 4, turn whip finish, and then snip my thread off. And once I've done that, I'm going to add, of course, some Solarez bone dry after I brush out these fibers. Just make sure nothing's trapped. Not totally necessary, but if you're a little bit OCD like me, then you probably want to. But again, just adding some Solarez bone dry. I like to add a little bit extra on egg flies so it kind of soaks into the egg material itself. You can see here. I think that's just going to help this fly be a little bit more durable even. This material is going to get wet and look like this anyway, so I don't think there's any harm in it. And after I've cured the head, I'm going to go ahead and actually take a little bit of UV resin and put it on the body or the belly of the fly and the wraps in the back. I like to do this step separately because I just don't want that material, that resin, to seep into the rabbit strip when I'm, uh, doing the head. If I put too much on the body on accident, you could do them at the same time. Not a huge difference, but just the way that I prefer to do it. But here you have it, the White Death and White Death variation. So tie them up, fish them. Let me know what you think. Thanks for checking in.